To start off, I'm outlining the figures of the characters, keeping it simple and leaving out the faces for now. I will get to those a little later on. Right now I'm drawing Snow White, starting from the top and working my way towards the bottom. I don't want to put in too many details, this is just a reference for where I want the characters to go. Keep in mind this is a cartoon drawing, so features such as the hands and waist may not be realistically proportioned, and not all fingers may be visible. Now I'm giving her skirt a simple outline. Later on this will become the Microsoft symbol. Now I'm beginning to outline the witch as I did with Snow White, keeping it simple and excluding details such as the face. Then I'm sketching the Macintosh apple and making sure it's large enough to be seen clearly. Now that the initial outlines are done, I'm adding in the details. Here I am laying out the Microsoft design on her skirt. Next, I will move on to the faces. I saved these for last because there were no reference pictures I could find with the facial expressions I wanted, so I had to wing it. I want Snow White to look surprised and somewhat scared, so I'm giving her high, curved eyebrows, wide eyes, and an open mouth. For the witch's features, we want to accentuate her sinister features, like large curved eyebrows and wrinkles around her eyes and mouth. We also want to position her eyes so that she's glaring at Snow White, who's in front of her. Based off of Walt Disney's sketches, the witch's nose and hands are very knobby and wrinkly, so we want to make sure that we show that. Now, to make the outlines bolder and more cartoon-like, I'm going over them with a 0.3 felt tip drawing pen. I'm not going to show much of this because it's pretty straightforward. The only parts not being outlined are the wrinkles in the fabric so that it flows more naturally. Finally, it's time to add color. I'm starting off with Snow White's skin. Any shadowed areas I will be filling in with the Prismacolor Peach. Then I will be filling in the rest of her skin with the color Cream. And to add a highlight, I'm adding white to the highest points of her face where the light is reflected, like her forehead and cheeks. I'm also using white to fill in her eyeballs and teeth. Next, I'm filling in her lips using Crimson Red and her eyes using Sienna Brown. Now to add some more dimension to her eyes, I'm adding black, and then I'll be blending that in using white again. Taking the same crimson color we used on her lips, I am filling in her bow. I'm leaving some places lighter so that I can go in and add white where light is reflecting. Next, I will be filling in most of her hair using black. Then I'm using Cool Gray 50% to add sheen to the highest points and create dimension. And here I'm just adding some more black to blend that all together better. I will continue with Cool Gray 50% to shade the shadowed areas of her collar. Then I'm blending that out with white. Now using crimson again, I'm filling in the details on her shirt sleeves. Then to add more dimension, I am adding white. Now for the folds in her shirt sleeves, I'm using violet blue. Then I will be using the color cerulean to color in most of the rest of her shirt sleeve. And as with everything else, I'm using white to highlight the highest parts. These are the poofy parts on her sleeves where the light is hitting it the most. The bodice of her dress will be the same colors as her sleeves, but I'm using much more of the darker color and less of the lighter colors. Now I'm using yellow ochre for the cuffs and the stripe down the bodice of her dress, and I'll be highlighting this with cream. Now I'm beginning to work on her skirt, starting in the top left corner with crimson red. This color is going in any folds and shaded areas. Next, I will be doing the same thing in the right-hand corner using apple green. For the bottom left-hand corner, I'm using the same cerulean color that I used on her shirt sleeves. Then doing the same thing with yellow ochre on the right side. Next, I'm filling in every square with the color cream. This makes the color that I laid down previously a little bit lighter to add some more dimension. For example, the color crimson red will become lighter in the areas where I add cream. You could use the color white for this step, but I prefer cream when blending because it doesn't alter the color too much and it blends so much more easier than white. Now to deepen the folds, I'm using one shade darker for each color. For the blue, I'm using violet blue. For the green, grass green. Then goldenrod, and finally Tuscan red for the red portion. Now, because I couldn't resist, I added white in each square directly next to the darker part to create a higher contrast. Then I'm filling in the negative spaces of the Microsoft symbol with black. And to finish off Snow White's side of the picture, I am adding a little bit more sienna brown to her face to add some shadows. Next, I'm moving on to the witch using French Gray 50% and blending that out with French Gray 20% to give her those dark under eye circles. I also used French Gray 20% in all of the creases and crevices in her face to darken them up a bit. And finally, I am filling in the rest of her skin with light peach. Next, I blended white and black in her eyes and in her tooth to give some dimension and shadow. Also, I lost the clip for this, but I used the color chartreuse in her pupils. Then moving on to her mouth, I just filled it in with Tuscan red and darkened the corners with black. For the witch's cloak, I'm using the same colors and techniques as I did with Snow White's hair, which is black and cool gray 50%. We want to focus the black in areas where there are folds and shadows, and then focus the gray on more exposed areas. Now I am using a mixture of French Gray 20% and cream to fill in her hair. finish off the witch's side of the picture, I am finally filling in that Macintosh apple using Cool Gray 50% and blending that out with white. Then to give it a more finished look, I will be outlining it with black. And finally, for the background of the picture, I chose a plain matte color, which was slate gray, because I wanted all of the attention to be on the characters. And now it's done! If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for your support.